Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Football Fallout. Before we prepare you for Week 5, let's talk about what happened in Week 4. I watch every game every week trying to find you the daily fantasy football diamonds in the rough. Today, we are talking about the Washington Redskins versus the New York Giants. Hey everyone, okay, so let's just dig right in. This is a game, Daniel Jones' first start at home, second start in the NFL. We thought that Daniel Jones was going to have a good game. I'll talk about this first. We thought Daniel Jones would have nice games against this Washington Redskins defense that is, let's face it, it's struggling outside of Norman in the passing defense there. They don't really have much. Quentin Dunbar was back. He played okay, but this is a defense, I'm sorry, it's just not going well for Washington. Let's just stick with the Giants. So in the first game without Saquon Barkley, we saw Gallman, 18 carries, 63 yards, 3.5 yards per carry, 1 touchdown. It's good that he got in the end zone in the passing game. 7 targets, 6 receptions, 55 yards, and a touchdown. What does that say? That says what we knew. The New York Giants, the offensive play calling is probably not going to change, but you'll lose a little bit of electricity when Saquon Barkley's out. But the good news for people, everybody that snapped up Gallman, is that he is probably going to be a factor in this offense. 2 touchdowns is a nice entrance into this offensive system. They also ran Hillman, 10 carries, 33 yards. I think the running game, you're probably going to see a lot of this, a lot of 3-4 yard, games for them, yards per carry, I mean. The 3.5s, the 3.7s, but that's good enough to keep things going. The other thing is Daniel Jones, 5 carries and 33 yards. As we know, he just has more wheels. Eli Manning is not a guy that has been mobile in his career. That ability for Daniel Jones to use a read option here and there to scramble and pick up first downs, that's another element that this offense has been missing for basically all of Eli Manning's tenure. Kerry Collins was the last guy that could scramble effectively for the Giants. So there you go. It's been a while. So Sterling Shepard in the passing game, 7 receptions, 9 targets, 76 yards. I thought that Slayton, I believe he's a rookie receiver there, I thought Slayton would have a better game. Only 2 targets, 13 yards. I think you're going to get some of that inconsistency. But remember, here's my fantasy football nugget for you. Golden Tate is coming back. He's a guy you want to pick up right now. Put him on your list. As Daniel Jones continues to ascend, and I don't think he's there yet. We only saw 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. That's not great from a passing attack, right? 23 completions on 31. I'll take that all day. The 225 on 23 completions, I would like to see a little bit more. I'd like to see, a little bit higher per attempt yardage rate, but that's all good, man. 78, quarterback rating, not that great. And it's because of the interceptions, but you're going to get that with a young quarterback. And let's be real about this. This game was never in doubt for the New York Giants, so it doesn't really matter anyway. But again, Golden Tate is my guy. Evan Ingram, only 4 receptions, 54 yards. I thought that he would have a little bit of a bigger game too. But again, this game was never really in doubt. I think New York could continue to rely on that run, even with the low yardage per carry, because they just had the juice. They had the lead, and the Washington Redskins were never really sniffing it. Now, why was that? Because Keenum went down relatively early and Haskins came in. Now, I said this right after the draft, and this is kind of what happens in the NFL. It's what happens in fantasy football circles. A rookie guy gets drafted in the first round at a skill player at the quarterback, and everybody's like, oh, he's going to be the starter. He's going to be the starter. Well, I didn't think that he was going to be the starter this year. Maybe late in the season in desperation, he could be the starter. And let's face it, he will be the starter sometime soon. But Case Keenum is the better NFL quarterback now. And the Gruden brothers, both of them, Jay and John, they don't like inexperienced quarterbacks. They like seasoned veterans. I always thought that this is pretty obviously going to be Case Keenum or Colt McCoy starting at quarterback. They don't want to deal with rookie mistakes. And let me just say this. Haskins, 9 completions on 17 attempts, 3 interceptions. Basically, 1 out of every 6 passes for Haskins was intercepted. That's Haskins, right? And it's not that he's a bad rookie or anything, but he's just not the right fit for this Gruden system. I'm sorry to say, Washington, I kind of know how this franchise works, haven't followed them for most of my life. Haskins is going to be the end of Gruden. He's not the kind of coach. I would say out of all the coaches, like Bruce Arians would be a good guy for Haskins, a guy, push the ball down the field, see what happens. Maybe they interview a guy like Byron Leftwich. Tampa's having a nice start of the season. He's the play caller for Tampa. if Jameis Winston can keep it going as we saw him do this week against the Rams. I think Byron Leftwich and Haskins would be a good marriage, right? I don't think that a guy trying to run, a very disciplined West Coast attack, like, take the ball from under center, 3, 5, 7-step drops and get the ball out on time. That's not Haskins' game. I think that if they try to force that in Haskins, it's going to limit his development. I hope for Haskins and for the Washington Redskins franchise, they put him back on the bench when Keenum is healthy, because it's not going to help him to be throwing an interception every 6 attempts. Now, he does have talent. I don't think he's bad. It's not a fit for Gruden. They're going to get rid of Gruden. It's going to happen. And they just have to make sure that offensive play caller that they pair him with is a guy that will want to push the ball downfield, take deep shots, try to run the ball, but, interceptions are going to happen. I think he's very similar to Jameis Winston early in his career. He's going to throw the ball high. He's going to put the ball up for grabs here and there. And you just want to limit that and just have a downfield passing attack. So another example would be, what Pittsburgh does with their play calling, just, shotgun, throw the ball deep. Those are the kind of guys that's going to work with Haskins, but don't pick him up on fantasy football. If he plays this year, it's going to be a disaster. He will have some good weeks, but he's going to have more bad weeks. Again, not criticizing the player. This system isn't right for him, and they'll make that change, I think, after the season. And I just all the momentum's heading that way. Now, Adrian Peterson, 11 carries, 28 yards, 2.5 yards per carry. This Trent Williams holdout, it's killing their running game. It's killing their screen game. I'm sorry, Washington. I just don't see good things ahead. You play New England in Week 5. Oh, my gosh. If Haskins plays against New England, anyway, needless to say, I'm heavy on the Patriots in the betting circles this week. The passing game for Washington, I thought they were going to feature Chris Thompson. Lo and behold, he actually led the team in receptions. Unfortunately, he was only with 56 yards. I thought he was a daily fantasy sleeper. Again, schematically, I think we had it right, but this game was over before it began. McLaurin didn't play. That's a bummer for Washington. Quinn had some attempts. Keenum missed him twice deep. He could have gotten in the end zone. I think that they had a nice game plan for New York, but once Keenum went down, it was over. We'll see what happens going forward. For Washington, I think Quinn is a guy you want to look at, maybe as a daily fantasy or a desperation waiver play. That's based on matchups, so make sure to watch our analytics. We're pretty good at predicting when those slot receivers are going to be able to go off. Chris Thompson, I think he's going to be the best back in this offense going forward, because Washington is going to be playing from behind quite a bit. And especially if Haskins does get meaningful playing time, they're going to have to keep those passes short. We already know Jordan Reed might not come back. Vernon Davis, sprinkle at tight end. Honestly, guys, outside of McLaurin, I don't really like anybody. And McLaurin is somebody I like more with Keenum throwing the ball than Haskins. It's going to be tough sledding. It's going to be tough sledding for this Washington team going forward. Gruden's in some serious trouble. I didn't think he would be to start the season, but 0-4. It's going to be long. It's going to be a long season, Redskins fans. But, and like a phoenix rising from the ashes, maybe things will get better. Giants, once again, just to sum things up fantasy-wise, pick up Golden Tate. He's worth the stash right now. You're going to have less chance getting him because his suspension is almost over, or it might be over. He might be activated for Week 5. I can't remember if it's 5 or 6, but he's coming. And then Washington, Chris Thompson, and McLaurin are really the only guys I would even consider putting in a daily fantasy or and Quinn. I like Quinn. So Thompson and Quinn and McLaurin are the only guys I would consider ever starting in any format. It's going to be tough, guys. It's going to be tough. So there you go. That takes us through another episode. Please support our channel. All you have to do is subscribe and watch some videos. It's all free. We release these game-by-game kind of reactions. We release game-by-game previews, fresh content, the weekly start sit, deep waiver plays, daily fantasy budget plays, against the spread. Everything is out there. We have different playlists, new content, like I said, daily. We bring in podcasts from the Underdog Podcast Network as well. A lot of cool stuff. So again, subscribe, like, comment. I'll be interactive, and check us out on another episode. Thanks.